All right, we're going to talk about kind of some of the tools that we can use as we're trying to solve problems or as we're trying to think about and do science or do physics. So the first here is dimensional analysis. And this is where we consider the units or on the measurements or the variables in the problem. So dimensional analysis is looking at units and kind of saying, do units make sense? Do these combinations of units make sense, etc. And so there are a couple of math rules. One, if we have two measurements, we can only add or subtract them if they have the same units. So in other words, I can't add inches to feet without changing inches to feet or changing feet to inches. I can't add seconds and meters because they're not the same units. I'd have to convert one or both of them to the same units. If you multiply or divide two measurements or two variables, then their units also divide or multiply. So if I have a meters and a seconds measurement and I divide them, my final units will be meters per second, or meters divided by seconds. So at the end of your problem, just make sure that your units make sense. If you're expecting a length, make sure it's a length. So here's an example. A problem asks the distance between two houses, and you have a speed of meters per second and a time seconds. So even without knowing any physics, we can make a pretty good guess about what we might need to do with these numbers. It won't be perfect. It's not the way to figure out what an equation is, but it at least lets us check something. So first of all, if I tried to add these together, or if I tried to subtract them, we see that these don't match, so it's not going to work. I'm not going to be adding speed and time together. If I multiply speed times time, then we see that that will give me meters times seconds per second, or in other words, meters times seconds over seconds. And we know from kind of algebra, anything divided by itself is 1. And so this will equal meters. And we think, okay, multiplying might be something on the right track, or if I did multiply these and I got my answer as meters, I know that might be right because that is a distance. If I tried to divide them, meters per second times 1 over seconds, instead of dividing, I'm actually going to multiply by the inverse. If you're confused by that, ask. But that will give me meters per second squared, which again, we haven't talked about it, but we know distances are typically measured in meters, and that won't work because that's not in meters. So there's going to probably be some multiplying, or if we divided and we got the wrong units, or if we added or subtracted and got the wrong units, we know there was a mistake somewhere in our problem. That's what we're talking about when we refer to dimensional analysis.